Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Build the Business You Love and the Small Business Networking YouTube page. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Today, I am here with the wonderful tax professional, Deltrease Hart-Anderson, and she is the owner of D Hart Accounting. Hey, Deltrease, how are you?
Thank you so much for the introduction, Z. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on and being able to discuss all this business tax accounting stuff. I know how complicated it could be for small business owners, specifically new small business owners, and all the things that they go through with their tax issues and being able to file or not file, and and the trouble that they can get into with the IRS or the cities or their states. So I guess we can talk a little bit about that. So the name of your business is D Hart Accounting. And let's talk a little bit about what exactly it is that you do as an accountant.
Well, thank you for that. So I am what's known as an IRS enrolled agent. And an enrolled agent is basically an accountant with a license. We are licensed by the Department of Treasury to be able to represent taxpayers in tax trouble. So for those individuals or businesses that get those letters from the IRS, I call them the nasty grams.
Oh, yeah.
We're able to walk any taxpayer through how to navigate that letter. If there are taxpayers, whether they're individuals or businesses that owe money to the IRS, can't afford to pay the IRS back, or all 50 states, because my license is for federal and all 50 states. So can't afford to pay the IRS, didn't file taxes for years or whatever, received a letter from the IRS. So that's what I do. I represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service in all 50 states when they have tax troubles. I also help with tax planning, so tax strategies to keep people out of tax trouble, as well as minimize their tax bill. So I do that for businesses and individuals as well.
Amazing. Go you.
Go me.
So many of us, I think, are afraid of those three letters, IRS. We are afraid to call them, touch them, see them, look at it. And I think a lot of times, out of that fear, people don't file or don't attempt to rectify their situation that they may have, filed or not filed, and created a situation for themselves. But they're afraid to attempt to, correct it. So you're like, I'm going to call you the corrector.
The corrector. Okay.
Because you
I
go
like
in
it.
and you do what you have to do. You talk to them, the IRS, on, I guess, the company's behalf, and make things okay again, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I do. For people that fear, and you're right, there are a lot of people. I remember I had one client, and she is so much better now. She was afraid to open her letters that she
Oh,
received from the IRS. So she would literally come to my office, and I would tell her, just don't panic, because she would literally get anxiety
yes.
over opening the letters. So she would bring the letters to me, drop them off. I would interpret the letters, and then I would have a conversation with her over the phone. This was before we were Zooming. This was have a conversation over the phone with her to explain to her what that letter meant, as well as what her options were.
Right, right. That's beautiful because it can be very it can make you very anxious when those letters arrive. I remember when I had an issue with the IRS once before, and they sent me a letter, and honestly, nothing was wrong. It was just like a review, but my heart, and I was just like, oh my God, what happened? Because I had never gotten a letter before. So I think just in general, people just get so terrified when they see anything out of the ordinary when it comes to taxes or the IRS or even the state, right? So it could be a little bit daunting for a lot of people. I could definitely see that. Um, so in your business, let's talk a little bit about like your tax season. So I think for a lot of us, we think that accountants just work up until April 15th, or in this case, this year was the 18th.
18.
Let's talk about the tax cycle and what all goes into that.
Absolutely. So that is far from the truth. And there are some businesses that just open their doors from January through April and they file a tax return. We don't do that. We don't want to leave our clients out there because letters will come from the IRS. And just like you mentioned, Z, those letters may mean nothing. It just may mean, hey, respond to this letter and everything is okay. But for those letters that mean a whole lot, hey, we're about to dip into your bank account. We're about to garnish your wages. We're about to put the locks on your business doors. We're open year round. So tax season, there's a tax filing season. There is a tax planning season. And for those with letters or tax issues, there is a tax issue, so a tax resolution season. Okay, so that January through April, people typically think of as tax season. That is the compliance, that's the tax filing season, where people reconcile their tax, whatever happened last year, they just reconcile it. They report that to the IRS. After they report it, then comes another season where the IRS starts looking at that information just to make sure that the IRS is going to accept that information to be true. If they accept that information to be true, then you don't get any letters. If they don't accept that return to be true, then the letters start coming. If you ignore those letters, then more letters come, then other things happen. Instead of getting just a letter from the IRS, you may get a letter from your bank. You may get a letter from your employer. You may get a knock on your door from your neighbor and say, hey, the IRS just sent me this. They want to interview me.
Oh, wow.
So, oh yeah, that can happen. So
my goodness.
Yeah, that there are different seasons. So tax filing season is one thing, but then other seasons happen. That tax resolution, when if you need it, if you owe the IRS, can't afford to pay, if you receive some of those nasty letters. So that's a season all within itself, and that can happen year round.
My goodness. So I guess the best thing to do, which is just not to ignore those letters, right? Open them up, figure out what's going on, talk to a professional and see, what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's scary. Let's talk about some of the things that a new business can do or a new entrepreneur can do to avoid some of those letters or avoid getting into tax trouble. Do you have any suggestions for a new entrepreneur that maybe just starting the business who has no idea what to do when it comes to federal and state taxes as a business owner?
Absolutely. The first thing that you want to do is get and keep your books in order. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm not going to call out any bookkeeping software, but everyone knows the main bookkeeping software. I'm not endorsing them, but get a bookkeeping software. You can get a spreadsheet, use an Excel spreadsheet if you'd like, but keep your books in order. If that's something that you can't do yourself, then go ahead and seek professional help to at least keep your books in order.
Right.
That's the first step. I have seen on many occasions, especially with my small business owners, they get surprised. They're shocked. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I made all of this money. And now I have to pay this tax bill. Well, I've spent the money. I didn't realize that I had to pay. So the first step is keeping your books in order. Know what your income is, know what your expenses are, know what types of expenses that you have. Keep that and don't wait until December 31st to figure it out.
Okay.
Then you want to seek professional help. If you know how to do your books, that's perfect. Because us, especially as professionals, we're really not interested in doing your bookkeeping. We want to go that extra level. We want to provide you with some tax strategies so that you can keep more of your money.
Right. Okay.
So if you have your books in order, then you can come to the tax professional and we can start to strategize. Because oftentimes the first question someone will ask me as a business owner is, what can I write off? Do you even need a write off?
Right.
I had, for example, one client came or a prospect came to me and they said, well, I bought a new car. I bought a new truck. I paid I think it was $56,000 for this truck. Well, why did you buy the truck? Well, my accountant said that I can write it off.
Oh, that
Well,
tax law. What is it? 718 or 760, whatever it is that you could.
179,
Yes.
section 179. Yeah. So why did you, so your accountant told you could write it off. So that's why you bought it. Well, they said I needed a tax break. No, you didn't need a tax break because you already had a loss from your business. So you did not need to buy that car in December, that truck in December. And so you want to, so one of the biggest things I would say, keep your books in order and then talk to your professional early and often and talk to the right ones because it doesn't make sense. And another thing, I'll give you another example, just even with the car situation, you may be able to write off your interest if you purchase a car for your business, and you can write off the interest for the car, but don't buy a whole car and make $500, $600, $700, $800 in car payments just for the whole year. So $9,000 that you spend in order to get a $200 or $300 write-off.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So get your books in order, keep them in order, and talk to your accountants or your tax professional early and often so that they can help you make good decisions. And
Right.
that's the way that you can keep more of your profits.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially with social media, TikToks, you know what I'm talking about. People just
Yes.
go on and say, did you know you can write off X, Y, and Z? Did you know? And it's just like, I can't say it's forcing people, but it's giving people these ideas. Like maybe I should just go, like you said, and purchase a car and write it off and without strategizing. And a lot of the times it may not even be necessary or the timing is off.
Exactly.
So I totally get what you're saying there because I've seen those TikToks.
Yeah, I call them those social media streets. Out in the social media streets, yeah, they will have you
say whatever.
Yeah.
They just say whatever. One other question I wanted to ask about, I wanted to ask about the business setup. So as far as, setting up different, for example, bank accounts, right, for certain things, what should a new business owner have as far as the setup goes? Should they have a bank account for, incoming, for expenses, should we have all that stuff separate, or should we just lump it up into one?
It is so funny that you're asking me this. So I recently had a conversation with two other accounting professionals, and one is not only an accounting professional, but an attorney.
Okay.
And the three of us, so it was me, a CPA, and an attorney. We were having this conversation maybe a week ago, and I will definitely tell them about this conversation. And we kind of went back and forth on what accounts that a small business owner needs, and they kind of convinced me of their way of thinking. So my thought process has always been, as a small business owner, you're going to need your operating account, you're going to need your tax account, and then you're going to need that rainy day fund account, right?
Okay.
That's it. But then the attorney convinced me that you want to have another account. You want to have an investment account, and you want to have a marketing account. Well, all fine and good. So I thought, oh my gosh, the business owner, we're small business owners. that's a whole lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
So his thought process was, if you set yourself up for success, set it up the way that you want it to be. So kind of beginning with the end in mind. Go ahead and
Okay.
set those accounts up now so you don't have to worry about them in the future.
Hmm.
So my thought process is, what my answer is today is what you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
If you want to set up all 5 accounts, set them up, but at least have your operating account, your savings or rainy day account, and then you also want to have your tax account. And that tax account is really, really special, because if you have that tax account and you are transferring money or writing a check or however you put money into that separate tax account, at the end of the year, if you're doing that with a regular on a regular basis, then you won't have to worry about at the end of the year
Right.
trying to scramble up to get
Scramble,
that
is it
tax
there?
money.
Where I'm gonna get this tax money from? It's
Exactly.
gone. It went in the wind.
It's gone. Yes, yes. So my answer is a little iffy. It's 3 to 5.
Okay. Okay. For
So
those
yeah.
different purposes.
Mhm.
I think I had to learn that the hard way, because I, even when starting my first business as an event-based owner, and paying those state taxes,
Mhm.
those are quarterly. So I had to pay those quarterly, and that time would come around and I'd be like, oh my gosh. So I had to learn the hard way and put aside, have an account, put that aside. So when that time came, it was just a matter of, okay, click, 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 done.
Yes. And some people, some business owners, they pay their sales taxes on a monthly basis.
Mm,
So yeah, you have no real window of time to actually overcompensate
right,
or catch up for not
right.
having that money in the bank.
Right, right. It's really something to think about, especially as a new business owner, because a lot of times they think, people, for some reason, when they come to me, they always think, oh, I have a business, I have a logo. Like, okay. Then they
Mhm.
don't think about everything else that goes into business ownership. And when they start making money, they're completely, it's too much. It
Mhm.
becomes overwhelming. And
Absolutely.
that's why I thank you so much for coming on to explain these things, to explain, how to go about setting up your systems, your bank accounts, and to strategize. Because if you don't, then you can be caught like a deer caught in the headlights, like, at the end of the year, the end of the quarter, the end of the month, whatever it is, and just not be prepared. And I think preparation in business ownership is key. Like,
Absolutely.
it really is key. Once you're prepared and you have that knowledge and you're like, okay, well, I see this coming, I could foresee this coming, you can prepare yourself and prepare your business and strategize correctly, and how to go about doing stuff. Yeah, so I wanted to know, how exactly did you get started into tax, into accounting? Like, how did you get into this? Because there are a lot of, I know we were discussing this before, a lot of women, specifically Black women, that are interested in accounting, but perhaps may feel like, maybe that wouldn't be for me, or that's not for me. How did you get into it? And like, is it your passion? Was it your passion at first, or how did that go about?
So oddly enough, and this lady probably doesn't know to this very day, I always say if I ever see her, I will tell her
Oh,
she's the reason why I just love, love, love taxation. So I have an accounting degree. I actually have two, one bachelor's, one master's in
oh,
accounting.
good for you.
When I was in college, um, and I loved accounting probably in high school, because I took these two accounting courses, and I just fell in love with it. It's something that, um, as an introvert, it's something easy. I don't have to talk to a whole lot of people. Well,
Right.
on the front end, I don't, but when explaining what's going on, I do. But it's just something where I could just hide behind a desk, and I love it.
Right.
And so
And
the
do the
numbers,
paperwork, right?
yes, yeah, let me just do your paperwork. And oh my gosh, that brought me joy. And I love to see how the numbers just kind of click. Accounting is a true science. So the math has to math.
Right.
If the math ain't math, and then something's wrong. So yeah, so I started enjoying accounting in high school.
Okay.
In college, as I was taking this tax class, there was a lady from my hometown, and I'm from a small town called St. Matthews, South Carolina. Like, oh my gosh, it's this big. You better not blink because you're
Don't
gonna
blink.
miss it. Yeah. So there was this lady that worked for the IRS that came to speak to my tax class in college. And I knew her. She maybe was maybe 8 to 10 years older than me, but I just remember her. And I was like, oh my gosh, she works for the IRS. And she came into our class and she talked about the IRS. So I so thought I wanted to work for the IRS. That was like my dream job, and they never hired me, but I'm over it now. But she came in and she started talking. And then as she finished, she asked who enjoyed taxes, who liked doing taxes. And I love doing taxes. It's just, just a true fact. I have never had anyone else to prepare my taxes. I have been preparing my taxes myself.
Look at that. You were ready. You were born to do this.
Yes. Yes, since I got my very first job, I was preparing my taxes as a teenager. Right. So she came in, she asked for volunteers. And when she asked for volunteers, I'm like, oh, I want to volunteer. So I was volunteering, didn't even really know what I was volunteering for, but I knew it was to do taxes. And it was for the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program through the IRS, also known as the VITA program.
Okay.
Yes, so back then you had to handwrite taxes. So there was no computer. You had your publication 17, which is kind of like the tax Bible. And then you had your tax tables, and you had all the different forms that you had to complete. That's it. And and eraser and some pencils. That's it. So you know how old I am, right?
Oh my goodness.
But I was, and another thing, so it was not only to volunteer to prepare taxes, it was volunteering to prepare taxes in my hometown of St. Matthews. So I was on cloud nine. And that's how I started. I was like, I love doing this, and it makes sense. And I was helping my community, and it was beautiful. And then I ended up with not only the one site where I prepared taxes, I ended up at another site. So I had two VITA sites at the same time where I was just helping people out. And I loved it. I love seeing the look on people's faces when I said, oh, you have a refund of XYZ. And they're like, I do. Oh. Now, not so much. Fast forward now, 2022, a lot of my clients don't get those big refunds, but I'm still able to see some smiles on their faces.
Yeah, it's a relief, I could imagine, once everything is sort of resolved, or at least, some sort of, I don't know, plan or payment plan, something is in place. It's a
exactly.
relief, I can imagine.
Yes,
wow.
Yes.
Well, that's a great story. Like, wow. And it's amazing how sometimes people come into your life and you really, they don't even know it sometimes, the effect or the impact that they had on you. And that, to me, that's tremendous. And I think that's wonderful that you actually had that and had the opportunity to meet someone like that, pretty much she's set your whole career trajectory. Like, okay, this is taxes, or you already knew what taxes was, but but this is what we do and how we do it, and whoever's interested, and you were brave enough to volunteer, and the rest is history, right? So that's great. That's so awesome. Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for this little interview and this conversation, because I think things like this help people out so much, especially small businesses, entrepreneurs, even aspiring entrepreneurs who are just afraid to attempt it and afraid to, just know exactly what to do. If there were any, any last bit of advice that you would give to, say, an aspiring entrepreneur that's scared of, say, this aspect of it, what advice would you give?
I would say don't be scared. Everyone starts from somewhere.
Mm.
There's no one that knows everything. I still don't know it all. I will never know it all, and I'm comfortable with that. But I know where to get the information that I need. So
Right.
I would say start. If I had to do this all over again, I would do it. I would do it a different way. I would know my worth,
Yeah.
and I know that as a African American females, it takes us a little longer to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
know your worth, you and just start from somewhere. Get with others in the profession, some that are starting out just like you, some that have been in the game as long as I have or longer, and just network with those people and just do it. Don't stop, just keep going. You're going to have ups and downs. I still do, but just start it and keep going.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for that advice. And thank you for coming on and telling us your story and letting us know how you got into taxation and even some really great advice that you've given to young and entrepreneurs just in general. I really do appreciate it. And I'm sure that I always say, even if it helps one person, you know what I mean? It's well worth it, even if it just helps one person. So, Deltrease, tell us how we can, get in touch with you if we have tax issues or if we receive a letter. Uh, let us know, or even, just I guess accounting, just in general, business accounting and keeping up with the books and strategizing, like you said. Let us know how we can get in touch with you and your business.
Well, thank you so much, Z. I want to thank you for having me. I have had a blast. And if someone wants to get in touch with me, schedule an appointment, go to www.callthetaxpro.com. That's www.callthetaxpro.com. Schedule a time, let me know how I can help, and we'll chat.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And most definitely before uh, the end of the day, feel free to send me all of your links so I can just post them underneath there. And that way people can just click away and go straight to your business website. And again, thank you so, so much. This was really informative, even for me. Like, I'm like, oh, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight and your information. And that's it, guys. Listen, this was a great interview. And if you guys need any help at all, you know who to go to for tax questions and concerns that you may have. Go to Miss Deltrease and she'll hook you up. Okay, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, follow us on the Small Business Networking page on Facebook. And thank you so much. Don't be afraid to build a business that you love. Thank you guys so much.
Bye bye.